Over the last several decades, share buybacks have become a much more common practice, and a much higher percentage of cash is returned to shareholders through share buybacks than ever was in the past. In fact, if you look over the last 50 or 60 years, it used to be that almost all return to shareholders came from dividends, and now it's roughly split 50-50 between share buybacks and dividends. And part of it is changes in the laws, but a big part of it is, particularly in the US, is a change in the composition of the economy or of the large companies in the economy. Now, a large portion of the market capitalization of the S&P 500 is more than 30% is from just a small number of industries. Tech companies, pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies, and some other large companies as well. An important characteristics of these companies is that they do not require a lot of physical capital. Most of their capital investment is in product development, R&D, right? Which shows up as a cost in the income statement, not as an investment. So when those companies don't need, and also those companies have become more mature over time. So those companies, after subtracting off their R&D spending to come up with their income, they don't need to invest much more cash in order to grow. So they have a lot of cash flow that they're generating after spending on R&D that has really no place to go except to be returned to shareholders. So it's actually a good thing that this money is being returned to shareholders, because these companies cannot profitably reinvest these things. These are companies that are generating, $5 to $10 billion a year in profits. It'd be very difficult for them to spend $1 billion more on R&D, for example, or $5 billion more, or $10 billion more. Probably impossible to spend that much money on R&D. So when companies that don't need the cash that they're generating return it to the shareholders, whether it's dividends or share repurchases, that's good for the economy, because that capital can then be recycled and reinvested in other growth companies. So that's what's really happening here. It's not, the reason that share repurchases have become much more common is because of this shift in the economy towards companies that are more intellectual property based, that don't need to reinvest in physical assets, that should be paying back more of their profits back to the shareholders as dividends or share repurchases. And as a practical matter, share repurchases are more flexible than dividends, which is why they've chosen to use share repurchases. It's a neutral thing. It's neither good nor bad. It's simply the companies generate more cash than they can profitably reinvest, so they should be returning that cash to shareholders.